Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ina, and today I thought that we should talk about timelines. Okay, what are timelines, you guys? Because we hear about timelines a lot, I think. Just in tarot readings, you'll hear different tarot readers talk about timelines, you know. And I think this is like a terminology people are using more often. I know I'm prone to use it from time to time, you know. So, what are timelines? And how do you jump timelines? Because I think I've actually said that in a reading before, like jumping a timeline. And I definitely know I've heard other readers talk about timelines as well. So I think it's important that we're just very clear, like what timelines are. Just because we're spiritual and we're spiritual, we should know this. You know what I mean? So, timelines, okay? Timelines. And I feel like everyone knows what a timeline is. You just don't know it's called a timeline. You know what I mean? So, like, this is a timeline. Let me give you an example. So, let's say I'm looking for a job, all right? And I get two job offers. I have job offer A, job offer B. So I'm thinking about which job do I want. So then I look at job offer A and I say, well, job offer A is really good offer because they're giving me what I'm asking for as far as payment, and I get to relocate to a place where I really want to live, and I really just see myself being happy in a place like that. And I have friends that live there too. But if I take job offer B, I'll stay here where I am. I don't really like the area. I don't have any like family or friends here, but the job is offering me more than what I'm asking as far as payment, and it's easy job. Like, the job is not a hard job for me. And even though my social life may suck here, I'm gonna make a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So that would be an example of timelines. Job offer A is a timeline to a certain type of a life, where you can move to live in a state you've always wanted to live in. You see yourself having a popping social life because you already have friends there. You have the job you want, is paying you what you want. Life is good. That's timeline. That's a timeline right there. And then when you go to job offer B, well, your social life will be non-existent, but you're going to be balling. That's another timeline. You know what I'm saying? So people deal with timelines. Like, we deal with timelines all the time on a regular basis. We're always like projecting into the future to see what it would be like if we do something. And that is exactly what that's a timeline. You're viewing a timeline at that point. You know what I'm saying? And it naturally leads us into when we talk about jumping a timeline. So what does it mean to jump a timeline? Well, you make a decision of which timeline you want and you align with it. So you say, hey, I would much rather have a good quality of life and a good paying job. So I'm going to take job offer A. I am going to align with that timeline. So you align with that timeline. You jump to it by doing everything that you're supposed to in your physical reality in order to get it. Agree to the job. Put your notice in at your current job. You know what I mean? Start packing. Start looking for a place to live in that area. This is jumping. This timeline jumping. When you start doing that, you're aligning with the energy, until everything syncs up just right and you're in that new state and that new place to live at that new job with that new social life. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you do that. I felt like this was going to take me so much longer to explain. That was so simple. I don't really feel like I need to say anything else. That's like super simple. Well, no sooner than I said that, I realized that there were a couple just small nuances I just wanted to go over about timelines, because like when we make major decisions like where we work, where we live, who we date, whether we become parents or not, these are major changes in our lives that put us on completely different trajectories most of the time in our lives from where our life was headed before. So when we make these decisions, we don't always think about all the little things that will happen when you're on that path, the people you'll meet, the experiences you'll have with them, good and bad, the all those things that happen. Because I think it's very important that when we're timeline jumping or when we're making decisions about major changes in our lives, is you should really think about it and be in a good energy behind it. Because if you make a decision in a negative energy or it's just a poor decision, there could be a lot of negative karma on that path for yourself. And you want to be mindful of that, especially when it comes to like joining your life to another person's, and when you're dating. Because if you aren't completely and fully aware of who you are connected to, there could be terrible things on that path for you that you may not be, aware of. So let me give you like an example. Let's say because we talk about I know on my channel I talk about awakenings and things like that, and people actually go through awakenings. We hear people talk about this a lot, and so let's say you have someone who's scheduled to go through an awakening, because when you are supposed to awaken, you can feel the change coming. It's like an inevitable change that rises up through you. So let's say someone is scheduled to go through an awakening. They feel that energy, but they don't want it. And let's say this person, because they feel like they aren't ready to change their life, but internally they know they need to, and the energy is bubbling up to the top to do it. But let's say the person decides not to do the work. Instead, they choose to, out of fear, okay? They choose to distract themselves from their awakening by connecting to someone in a relationship. Now, because they did this recklessly without fully thinking it through, they did it out of fear, not wanting to go through the awakening, not wanting to go through that, whole process and doing, the work. Instead, they decide to jump into a relationship with the person that was karmic. But that person didn't seem like they were karmic in the beginning. And because you were not focused and your energy was divided, you were distracted because you were in fear, you missed the signs, you missed the red flags. You made a decision about who you would attach yourself to and love out of fight or flight, whatever that is, when you're in that state of fear. And then once you get attached to that person, you get on that timeline, you've been on it for some time, and the fear of the awakening is gone. But now the reality of the fact that you are attached to a very karmic person going through things that you would have very rather, really rather not to have experienced. You know what I'm saying? That's another example. That's an example of a time a timeline too. So it's really important, like when we're making these decisions in our lives, that we're really thinking them through, and that we're in a good energy and we're in a good space about what it is that we're doing, because that tells us a lot about what we'll experience on that path that we're choosing. And whenever we make decisions in fear, well, you can expect for that energy to be perpetuated throughout that timeline. You know what I mean? If you make if you make a decision from your gut, using your intuition, doing what genuinely satisfies you, pleases you, and makes you happy, then that's a great energy to be in. That energy of basically groundedness is going to be perpetuated throughout whatever timeline you're choosing. It's like when you make decisions, you want to be in energies like that. You want to be sure. You want to be sure that this is what you want to do for whatever, because it's what you want. It's what you naturally feel drawn to do. It's what comes naturally for you. And this is where knowing who you are as a person plays a huge part. Because when people don't know who they are, when we don't know who we are, we can't making decisions like what I'm telling you to do now would be impossible for you. You don't know who you are. So I guess the definition or the concept or idea of what timelines are, it's very simple, but I think like it should be taken with heavy consideration, to really just kind of stop and really, and I mean, I feel like we already know these things, but I know from personal experience in my past that there were lots of times that I made decisions that that put me on timelines where I didn't think it through as well as I should have. And I moved in an energy of maybe like uncertainty or something like that. You don't want that. It's like the energy of fear being perpetuated throughout a timeline. It's going to be a lot of anxious moments, you know, or maybe just the constant energy of anxiety is there because that's the initial energy you moved in. You're still moving in that until you consciously bring yourself out of that state. You're going to be constantly moving in that energy, so just some things to think about. But I think timeline jumping is a pretty cool concept. I think it's a really cool concept because you really do get to play with time, with your mind. Like, for instance, right now, just try it out. Like, you could tap into a timeline. I'm going to give you a timeline to tap into. And I don't care how ridiculous this is, tap into it. Even if you're a guy, please, especially if you're a guy listening, please do what I am about to say. Let me know in the comments what you see on your timeline for yourself. But so let me give you a timeline to tap into. So I want you to think about what your life would be like right now if you found out you were pregnant with twins. And it doesn't matter if you're 70 years old. It doesn't matter if you're single. Okay? Just imagine if you were pregnant with twins right now. How would that change your life? What would your life look like if you found out you were pregnant with twins? What would have to happen in order for your life to even accommodate twins, you know? And what you're thinking of is an actual timeline for yourself, okay? If you had twins, that's something that could possibly happen for you. If you had twins, you know. Now, sometimes you can do this and you see things you don't like. You may want to stay away from that. And this is a great tool for like using your intuition. Think about things when you meet people. And this is just exploring timelines. This is all you're doing, all with your mind. Okay? You don't even have to go through the experience to know in order to gain wisdom from it. Just tap into the timeline. And that'll give you a general like consensus of what it'll be like. That'll give you the topic of the timeline. You know what I'm saying? You know? It won't be able to tell you every single thing that'll happen on it, but it'll let you know overall, this is what this timeline is like, you know? And you can say yay or nay, because some like I started to say, sometimes you could look down the timeline and you may see something you don't want. So then you may say, you know what? I'm not doing that. So if you're dating someone, let's say you're dating two people, right? Let's say you're dating two people and you like them both and you do feel like you want to be in a relationship. Right? But you're not sure which one you want to choose because you like them both. You think they're both attractive. You know what I mean? So, what do? Well, you sit down one day in a quiet space by yourself and think about what your life would be like if you actually chose Kenny. You know? What would it be like if you chose Kenny? Well, what does Kenny do? You know, you'd have to think about that. What would it look like? The two of you, your lives coming together. And it's like whatever comes into your mind, whatever type of ideas you get about it, that's possibly a pretty accurate description of what life with Kenny would be like. And then you could think about, like, what if you chose Brian? You know what I mean? What would life with Brian be like? And then you could think about that. And you know, if you see yourself having to fight off baby mamas, then that more than likely life with Brian would be like that. You know what I mean? So you might want to go with Kenny. I'm just joking. But that's what it's like. That's what it's like. Like when you explore timelines, you could do that. And I swear to God, like you could do it with anything. I mean, people do it all the time. They sit down in a restaurant and they think, ooh, do I want the lobster bisque? Or do I want, I don't know, shrimp on a Barbie? And then they think about, what would eating shrimp on a Barbie be like? They're tapping into the energy of the timeline if they chose to eat shrimp on a Barbie. And then they say, you know what? I'll take the lobster bisque. You know? And so I think that is a really cool thing. And timeline jumping, yes, we do it all the time with major decisions. But I don't even think enough people really, like, do people actually do what I just said? Because I kind of feel like not enough of us do this enough. Like, because you could really just sit down and think about what your life would be like with that person. You know? Because I think so many times people make decisions based on it just seems like the right thing to do. You like the person, you're in a good place, they're in a good place. It makes sense. But did you ever sit down and think about what life with them would possibly be like? You know, because I feel like not enough people do that part. They stick with the it makes sense part, the logical part. They tap into the feminine energy and get into their intuition and figure out what would it actually be like, though. You know. So that's the high priestess in me, you know what I mean? But anyway, if the messages resonated with you guys, make sure you hit that like button. If you like my vibe, if you like the way I read energy, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And like I always say, guys, use your best judgment, which is your intuition. When I say this, like, I really do mean it. I really do mean it. And that's part of why I do these videos too, like to help people better use their intuition, because I feel like people don't really know how to use their intuition for real. Most of the time, people think their intuition is a gut feeling that they oftentimes confuse with anxiety. And they think that that is intuition. And it is not. You know, I feel like intuition is a natural God-given gift that everyone has, but not everyone knows how to use it. Now, some people are straight up spiritually gifted. We're not talking about those people. We're just talking about everybody. Like what I just described with the timelines, everybody can sit down and do that. Nobody has to be like quote unquote gifted to do that. You know what I mean? We're just sitting down, tapping into a timeline. That's it. You know what I mean? Alrighty. Okay, guys. I really do mean use your intuition. I said all of that to say that. Okay? I'm in mommy mode now because I'm like getting off track, going from one subject to the other. All right, you guys. I'll talk to you later. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.